Hello and welcome. Sorry for the delay. I was trying to get our friends over on Facebook connected, but it's just not working because Facebook, right? It happens. So we're going to have to let that skip. But we're glad that you're here because while I understand that the idea of malware and ransomware in particular can feel overwhelming to people, and maybe it feels like it would be easier just to ignore it. A, it's not really that hard to understand, and B, ignoring it can be really, really bad. So we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about this. It's going to be really clear after we're done what it is, how it might impact you, and the steps you can take to protect yourself, because really that's the important part of this, right? So we're going to get the show started, and we will dive right in. Hang on a second. Okay. Hello and welcome. My name is Kathleen and I'm here as your tech coach. For those of you who are new, basically the story is I know a lot of people who don't have anybody to turn to when they have tech questions, which made me realize there's a lot of people who don't have that, so that's why I'm here. I bring these topics every week. You are always welcome to ask other questions, but I bring a topic every week that we can talk about that will impact you, your personal life, and your small business, which is really our main focus. So tonight we're going to talk about something that is, I understand, very scary for people, but there are steps that you can take, there are things that you can do, and so we're going to talk about all those things so that you are in the best possible position you can be. So let's just dive right in, because I am a little bit late here, and not really sure why I'm saying that twice, but fine. So let's talk about what malware is and why we should possibly be talking about it. Why it would impact us and all of the different pieces of it. Malware is actually a big title. So malware covers a very large number of bad things that can happen on our computer. I mean, really at the basic point of it, that's really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about all the things that people can do to try to break into our systems, to take over our systems. And we're not talking about like physical theft. We're not talking about somebody coming up and stealing your computer. What we're talking about here is things like, viruses and worms and all those kinds of ugly things that nobody really wants to think about. But they are around, they are spreading. And in particular, this one type, which is known as ransomware, is happening in a lot of different places. So that is the one that we are going to focus on tonight. But to summarize it in a little nice ball for you, malware, as a general statement, is malware is a shortened term for malicious software. Okay, and it is any program or file or any mechanism that somebody can use that is harmful to your computer and therefore to you as a computer user. Now, like I said, this covers a lot of different things, okay? It covers computer viruses, worms, Trojan horses, spyware, keyloggers, adware, rootkit, remote access, and ransomware. Now, I just threw a whole lot of terms at you and you're probably like, wait, that's too much already. The important part of this is just that there are lots of ways that people can mess around with your computers and your computer systems. And that covers everything, okay? That is the obvious things, like your desktop, your laptop, right? But it's also mobile phones. It's also your point of sale systems, because they are, let's face it, computers at the back end of it. We're talking about your inventory systems, your ordering systems, anything that is computerized can be affected by some level of malware. And there are levels to it. There are some things that are just annoying, and then there are things that are downright dangerous. And the things that they do cover a wide spectrum also, right? So it can be as simple as stealing, right? So while they may not be physically stealing your computer, they could be stealing your data, your customer logs, your account information, all of the transaction information around everything that you do and your customers do. That's a big one. You hear about that a lot in the news, right? You know, the credit card numbers get stolen, people's names, the security numbers, all their identifiable information gets stolen. This is where all this is coming from. These things happen because of these types of attacks. But it doesn't stop there, right? It could be encrypting your sensitive or all of your data, right? Or deleting it completely. Okay, that falls under the ransomware category. There's also ways that they can hijack your computer to make it they can sort of reach out and use your computer to go out and do bad things to other people so that their hands are clean, right? Because they're going through you to do it. They can monitor your activity, your customer's activity. They can lock you out of your computer and your entire system. So there's a lot that can happen here, but we're going to focus mostly here on just ransomware because that is the one right now that is seeing the biggest uptake and is basically attacking anybody, any level user, from individual users all the way up to corporate and literally everybody in between. We're going to talk about that. So what the heck is ransomware? So as I said, ransomware is a type of malware, right? So it's one category of malware. In this particular case, what happens is they release some software into your system, and we'll talk about how in a minute. But then they lock up all of your files, and or lock you out of your system completely. Really, the difference between one and the other is pretty minimal. But either, when you try to log in, it says, nope, this is not your computer. Or you can get in, but you can't do anything, you can't see anything because all of your files have been locked down. This is definitely scary, and it is happening more and more, which is why we're talking about it. It is making the mainstream news. The concern I have is that the mainstream news is not explaining it well, and they're also not completely accurate about it because, like anything else, there are flavors of ransomware. Okay, so there's your basic one, which is just scareware. I say just scareware, but it's scary. So what it does is, while it is not actively doing anything to your computer, other than maybe throwing a lot of pop-ups at it and maybe making it run slow, all they're trying to do is scare you into paying them. Okay, they haven't actually touched any of your files. They haven't locked you out of your system. They've just made your system less pleasant to use. And they'll keep throwing up pop-ups and messages and warnings to try to force you into paying. The other side of the scareware thing is the fact that it also, they tend to present themselves as authorities, right? So they'll say that they are Microsoft and you are in violation of something, or you are a law agency and you've been doing things and they're going to come after you, or you haven't paid your taxes and so they're taking your computer, or they're the government, there's all kinds of different ways they use to try to scare people, and that hence the name scareware. The next level are the screen lockers. That's what we were talking about before. So what they do is they lock your screen, okay? Again, they tend to present themselves as an authority, okay? This is where you'll get an FBI looking warning, or some other agency saying that you have to pay a fine before you can get access back to your computer. You've been caught doing illegal activities, all this kind of stuff. Of course, the government, no agency is going to do that. If they're going to come for you, they're not coming through you by your computer, okay? So, but this is another one, and it is one that will literally lock you out of your computer. You won't be able to do anything. The big one is the encrypting ransomware, because there is really no way to get back into your system, back into your files, without paying them and getting this code that they've got that will unlock it. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of things around this. Okay, so if you pay, okay, and we could have 15-hour discussions about whether or not you should pay, but if you do, they may or may not give you a code that gives you access again, or they may give you a code that gives you access, but maybe it's going to trigger again in 6 months. There's a lot of unknowns that you have no control over, and this by far is the scariest one. And we're going to talk about things that you can do to prepare so that if this happens, you have options, because having options is the key thing. Okay, hello, Ace, and my buddies over at Create Live. Nice to see you over on Mixer. It's kind of working out well here because Facebook wouldn't connect for me tonight. Bonus, right? That's the way it goes. All right, so like I said, those are the three basic formulas, basic flavors of ransomware. So you're going to see scareware, there's screen lockers, and there's encrypted software. And we are going to talk about what you can do about these things. But before we go any farther, all of you people out there, and I can hear you, I can hear you saying it, right? I don't have to worry about this. I'm small potatoes. I'm the small fish in the big pond. They're not coming after me. This is the scariest part of the ransomware thing that's going on right now, is they are literally going after everyone. No one is safe from this because they're just sending this out. There's so many ways that they are propagating it, which is sending it through and having it go through different people's systems. And they don't care. They don't care who they get. They don't care who they take down. So just as an example, okay, so they have literally been going after individuals, okay, with especially the scareware and screen lockers. you can't do a search on the internet without coming up with thousands of examples of this. And a lot of times it's people who maybe are not completely computer savvy. And so, yeah, they believe that maybe Microsoft is locking them out of their computer because they did something wrong, or the government is going after them. These things are happening out there. There's also been a rash of things in the past year, 2 years now, picking up steam on a big basis. They have gone after small companies. I'm talking everything from us, individuals, mom and pops, Main Street USA folks, to the slightly bigger ones, middle enterprise, all kinds of corporations in all kinds of industries. They don't care. They're just going in, they're doing it. And when it happens, if it happens, you're locked out. Your business is shut down. You can't do anything. There are reports of companies being locked out and unable to function for weeks and months at a time. So, if you think about the financial impact of this kind of thing, that's where this really gets scary. They've gone after hospitals. These people have no heart. They don't care. They're just looking to make money. So they've gone in. They've gone into hospitals, clinics, doctors' offices, and locked out all their records, and literally, people are in the hospital getting care, and the entire hospitals get shut down because of this stuff. It happens in a fraction of a second. One misclick by somebody someplace, which we'll talk about in a second, but this is way too easy for it to happen, and the implications are catastrophic. They have been going after towns, cities, all sizes. There's all kinds of reports of small and big towns getting shut down. Somebody clicked on something and all of a sudden everybody's computer is locked down, all the records are locked down, and in a lot of cases they don't have backup. So this then becomes a bigger and bigger problem. The past 3-4 weeks I've been starting to hear lots of reports of colleges and other schools getting hit. Everybody's getting ready, here in the U.S. to get back to school. They've just gone back to school, and now these systems are going and they're locking everybody down. So it's getting to be a real big problem. Yeah, I know. Yay, Facebook, right? Thanks for being there, Facebook, every time I try to use you. Okay, so over on Mixer, Great says, what if you do not have any important files on your system, never log into your bank, or the dangers of a network? So that, yes, we're going to get into all that. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're actually storing anything on your computer, because if you have a backup, that is connected to your computer, these things all go through it. So we will get into that in a second. Yes, networks are not as safe as you think. They will be knocking on my door. They may very well be, but they won't be doing it through malware. That's definitely for sure. So let's talk about how this happens. So there's lots of different ways for these things to happen. I'm going to run through the most common ones, but basically they infect your system just like any other malware. Okay, they are going to send out spam in an email or whatever. There's bad websites out there that have links on it and that will trigger the software install. There are gaps in anybody's security system that they're going to crawl through. There's an amazing amount of things. So I'm going to run through a list. Okay, just to give you a feel for how easy it is to do this, because no matter how careful you think you are, how well protected you think you are, it is easy for you to have a weak link in the chain, to maybe not have had enough coffee before you start clicking on things, and this is where this happens. So the big one right now, the one that's having the most impact, are the malicious emails known as the phishing emails, and that's not FISH, that's PHISING. This is the most likely way that these things are going to hit. You get an email, or one of your employees gets an email, and it seems like a perfectly fine email. It may look like it came from a friend, a family member, a coworker. It may look like it comes from one of your clients. And so, maybe there's an attachment on it, or there's a link to click on, and as soon as they either open that attachment or they click on that link, that's when it all happens. And this is what Create Live was talking about. So if you have, if you're a one-person operation and you have one computer and you don't have anything else attached, then it's only your computer and maybe an external hard drive or whatever that gets impacted. As soon as you start to deal with a situation where there's multiple computers and you have a network and you've got shared drives, if you think about it, most of us at home have this kind of a setup, right? Because you've got, your work computer, you've got your personal computer, you've got, your phone and your tablet and your laptop, and they're all connected to the same network. As soon as anybody in your household, anybody on your network clicks on that link, this stuff flies through and starts to infect everything immediately. Usually so fast that you don't even know what's happening until it's done. So that's how these things propagate themselves. It's really just that simple one click, that misclick. It's happened in places that I've worked. couple of jobs ago, there was this one developer who clicked on a link. It looked like it was a customer. It was actually a customer email. So they had been going back and forth about some stuff, normal work stuff going on. The people who are writing the malware are getting unbelievably good at it. What they did was they actually broke into the email server, found the email, the thread that was going on, picked one that was long enough that somebody wasn't going to go all the way through and investigate it too closely because it was an ongoing conversation. You were expecting an answer. They took that email, they duplicated it, they put a fake answer in and put the link in. And so when this person clicked on what they thought was an attachment from the customer, it wasn't. The customer hadn't even responded yet. But for all intents and purposes, it looked like a perfectly viable email because it was a conversation that they'd been having for a couple of days by email. That's how easy this is. That's how scary this is. And it literally took, I was sitting on the other side of the wall from this person. It literally took less than a minute and a half before everybody went, what's going on? Something's wrong. And by then, it was throughout the entire company. Another way that it happens is through infected USB drives. So, USB drives are everywhere, right? You can't turn around. I mean, you might even have one in your pocket right now. But you're walking along, you're walking through a parking lot, you find one, and you're trying to be a good person, right? Oh, well, somebody lost this, it might have important stuff on it. You slip it in your pocket or your purse, you're like, okay, later I'll go look at it. Then you plug it into your computer, and guess what? It wasn't a good person who just lost their thing. It was somebody who was hoping that somebody would find this and plug it in, and now you're infected. Social engineering is another way that it happens. Again, this is sort of tapping into what I was just explaining. The email that was going on, you're already comfortable, they go in and they use it. Or they're constantly breaking into email systems in general, and they go and they look at people's contact lists, and they look for a name and an email address, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to make this look like it's coming from your buddy. Here you go. Now you're infected. This can be done through, all kinds of, emails or chats. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. So always, before you click on anything, before you open anything, make sure it really came from them. Macros are another thing. Now, macros are not as, I wouldn't say, they're not as popular as they used to be. Except that people are using them maybe without realizing it because there's so many good ones out there that people are just embedded and they've forgotten that they're using. So if you open up a file in whatever tool you're using, most people are going to be using Microsoft Office in a corporate or business situation, and it says, hey, I want to run this macro, and you're like, I don't remember having a macro. Always deny the permission unless you know that you attach that macro yourself, and you are 100% sure. It'll tell you the name of it. Make sure that it is something that you recognize. Malvertising, okay? Advertising in a bad way. Some people say advertising is always in a bad way, but we'll put that aside for this conversation. Let's talk specifically about advertising with evil intent, right? So there are ways to create bogus ads on the internet, and they can pop up, just like any other ad does on the internet. And we all know we get drowned in these ads, okay? So some of them will come up as an actual pop-up. Some of them will actually embed into the code of a website that maybe has less than great security and has been breached. And so it looks like just one more ad on the side or the top that maybe inadvertently or on purpose you click, but by doing so, you run a script that then infects you. Even websites themselves can have it. So even something simple like clicking on an article or the next page, if it is a not secure website, or maybe it is just a malicious website that's presenting itself as trustworthy, that will also get you into this kind of trouble. Just checking in here. Okay, so we're good? Awesome. Let's keep going. So, this is the next question every time I have this conversation. So how do I know? How do I know that I've been infected? There are some obvious things, like it could be that, your system starts running slow or whatever. That would be more an example of a typical general malware. When it comes to things like the ransomware, you're going to see more specific things. So here, I'm going to bring this up. So here's a site that actually pulled some examples. So one is that when you go to try to open a file, it's going to say, I can't find this. Or, on a Mac, it'll happen. Yes, okay, so here, let's just get this out of the way. Yes, it happens on the Mac as well as on the Windows systems. Let's just get that out of the way. No system is safe. Yes, there are times where one is hit more than the others, but I know there's a lot of folks out there that think that the Macs have some magical powers. They don't. They get attacked too. Okay, end to end. So yes, it can happen on a Mac, same kind of thing where you see that kind of stuff. Or you could see a message like this that says, hey, your files are encrypted on a big scary screen. Or something like this. So the point being that there's definitely clear indications when this happens to you. I don't say that expecting you to feel comforted, but I just say that so that you know that you will know for sure when this is happening and when it is not. And why did everything just go blank? Don't go blank on me right now. This is not a good time for blank. There we go. Okay, the system's happy again. Sometimes you have to talk to your computer. All right, so let's keep going here. Let me just see if there's any more questions. All right, so over on Mixer, we have a very good question. Let's deal with this. So they're saying, is this stream going to affect my PC? This would be the perfect setup to do a ransomware scam. No, I am not setting up ransomware. That is not who I am, and you know that. You are not going to get it from watching a stream on Mixer or Twitch or any of the other platforms. Now, is it possible that somebody in chat could post a link that has malware? Absolutely. That's why you don't want to click on links unless you know 100% that they are safe, and the only way to do that is to expect that they're coming and to check with the person before you click on it. So no, you're not going to get it by streaming or by watching a stream, but yes, if you click on a link in chat, all bets are off. Anything is possible. You don't ever know by looking at it. Even if the link looks good, there are ways that, even if the whole link is there, it says HTTPS, blah, 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 and you're like, hey, yeah, that's fine. That could be masking a malicious link in the background. So the text that you're looking at may look fine, but the actual link that's going to get triggered when you click on it might not be your friend, and it could actually trigger it. So there you go. Ah, good. Ace is sticking up for me. Yes, I am clean. Wait a minute. I'm the little old lady in Poltergeist? Hang on. I don't know if I want to go there. All right. We'll take that, I guess. It wasn't the first thought that occurred to me, but okay, fine. You be you. I understand. All right. So then people want to know, how can I avoid this, right? That's, of course, your next thing. And a perfectly reasonable question. And the good news is that a little bit of common sense goes a very long way, as long as you're vigilant, okay? It is not, obviously, anybody's intent to do this to themselves. And it is not the kind of thing that, people are going to do for fun, right? They're not going to say, hey, I'm feeling wild today. I'm going to click on this link and see what happens. It usually happens because you're tired, you're distracted, you haven't had enough coffee, whatever the reason is that you're not paying 100% attention. That is where it's going to happen, and that's why the vigilant part is in this particular slide, because that is key. So what can you do to protect yourself? Very simple, logical things, right? Obviously, you're going to train yourself and your employees on recognizing the signs of malicious emails, attachments, websites, all that kind of stuff. That is far and away the best thing you can do, is to make sure that everybody is up to date on this kind of stuff, that they are practicing good hygiene when they're clicking on things, right? When they're on the web, that kind of stuff. It is absolutely the best thing you can do to protect yourself. And you're going to run into people, maybe you, right? You're going to feel a little insulted by the idea that you need to learn about this and that you need to be careful. But that's exactly what the people who build the ransomware viruses are counting on. They're counting on us letting our guard drop. So you want to be sure that you don't fall into that. The hubris, it's a bad thing. So make sure that you are constantly staying on top of it. You're constantly checking yourself. Keep going and reading those articles. Make sure you're talking to your employees, whether they're, direct employees, whether it's contractors that you're working with. Make sure that everybody's on the same page about being careful with all this stuff, because it is way too easy for an inadvertent click to turn into an ultimate nightmare for you. And social engineering is a big part of it very often. So you do want to keep an eye on it. Now, there are things that you can do. Let me bring this up. There are tools that you can install also, which can help, okay? Now, no tool in the world is going to protect you 100% of the time, 100% of the way. But there are some very good tools out there that will help give you that little bit of extra protection. So if I just went to PC Mag, because they usually have really good reviews. So you see there's a variety of them, right? Some of them are free. Most of the free ones are free, and then there's an upgrade that you can pay for. So there's lots to choose from. You can go through and figure out which is the best one for you. If you are just looking for a recommendation, this is the one I recommend, Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes is free to start, and you can keep using it for free. It is very, very good. And then if you want to, you can actually upgrade it. But the free version is 100% protection also. Like, it does check on things and all that. Now, the thing to keep in mind about using any of these tools is they are they're just a tool, okay? They are not a magic wand. They are not a protective wall that's going to protect you all the time. There are no guarantees in life, right? All you can do is get yourself trained, make sure your employees, your contractors, anybody who you're interacting with, even your customers, right, are trained to be on the lookout, to know what to keep an eye out on, what good practices are, and to encourage, installing one of these software applications. But everything is constantly evolving, okay? This is a constant game of whack-a-mole. Everything is always 1 minute away from being a great solution to being out of date because there's a new version of it. There's a new way that they're attacking. So you kind of constantly have to stay on top of these kinds of things. You're going to have to constantly, update. You're going to want to constantly update all the tools that you're using. If you are installing any of these kinds of things, you want to make sure that they're up to date, that you've got them installed everywhere. You can't be lazy about this kind of stuff. You have to stay on top of it. That is really the only way that you're going to be able to really succeed. The other thing that is absolutely crucial, and let me bring this back up for you, because I know some of you are visual learners. I get that. I am too some days. It depends on the day. Depends on the content. Okay, so we've talked about you need to be common sense, good hygiene, all that kind of good stuff. This technically is not prevention. This is your best alternative should the worst happen, is backups. Okay, but you absolutely have to do the backups. It's not enough to say, yeah, I know backups are important. You have to do them. You want to do them, every day. You want to do one weekly. You want to do one monthly. You want to keep those copies. You want to rotate them. We've talked about backups before. You can go back and watch previous shows. You can count on me doing another show on backups because backups are your best option for everything. Whether it's just a failed hard drive, if your computer gets stolen, if your computer dies, if you get attacked by any kind of, a malware, in particular ransomware, the key here is to make sure that your backup is not connected to your computer all the time. So it's fine. If you want to do a local copy, from one part of your drive to another, that's fine for daily working and those emergency situations, again, where you delete something you didn't mean to. Then it's fine to take like an external drive, plug it into your machine and do a backup, as long as you then disconnect it and put it somewhere. Because anything that is connected to your computer and your network, and so that also means those wireless drives that people like to use. I have one too, I use it, but you cannot depend on that wireless backup to be a clean backup if you get attacked by any type of malware, especially if you get attacked by ransomware. So it has to be a drive that you are physically removing from the computer after you do the backup. When it comes to cloud backup, in general, that is safe, except if it happens to upload the ransomware. Now, most of the really good cloud backup ones are doing their own checks, but again, that does not mean it's an absolute guarantee. Because again, something could have just come out and you could have been the unlucky person to be one of the first ones to get it, and so that chink in the armor could back it up. So, ideally, cloud backups are 99% of the time a very good option, but you do want to keep in mind that you still want to have a physical backup someplace that you have nearby, in a drive that is not connected to anything, just to be sure. That is hands down your best option, because the whole leverage point for the ransomware is they have your data, they have your computer, and you're stuck. But if you have everything backed up, you're in a much better position, because you can say, you know what, sod off. I don't need to deal with you. I've got all of my stuff. I'm just going to rebuild or get all new computers, but I have my data. You're going to mess me up, but you're going to mess me up for a day. They don't have the leverage then, right? Then you're in the power position, because you're like, yeah, so what? I've got my stuff. So backups are vital to survival in this whole situation, and you want to make sure that you have those and that they are not always connected to anybody's system. Have I said that enough? Have I made that very, very clear for you? I hope I have. Let's see. Oh, we're having quite a conversation here. Can these tools ever be compromised and that tool becomes a ransomware source? Anything is possible. There have certainly been reports of that type of thing happening. It's not the norm at all. It is a extreme rogue case, usually a disgruntled employee. What has happened more often is out of the package, out of the plastic wrap, USB drives. They have been known in the past to have not necessarily ransomware on them, but malware on them. because again, somebody got into their system and planted it, whether it was for what they thought were giggles or that was a serious attack. That has happened much more. The software ones, to be honest, I have not heard of anything in the past 5 years or so. There was one, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years ago, where there was a case where I think it was a freeware one, and somebody had gotten a hold of it, and the company that had been putting it out had stopped giving it love and attention, and so it looked like there was a new legitimate version come out, but it was actually somebody had duplicated it and put it out looking like them. So, I mean, again, there are, like I said earlier, there are no guarantees in life. There are just things that you can do to help protect yourself. And by using things that are reviewed on a regular basis, that's why looking at something like PCMag or something like that that is doing regular checks and those kinds of things will keep you in a safer position. I should probably at least install stuff on my clients' machines. I don't want them to get attached to their files either. Right, exactly. Well, that's just it. And I'm not trying to spread fear either. So that's actually a good thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Sorry, this is coming from Mixer. So Create Live is saying, that they don't necessarily do this kind of stuff on their own, but maybe they should start doing it for their customers' systems. And that is a good way to go. I don't install, what do they call them? The antivirus softwares anymore, because Windows actually has a very good one right now. So as long as you're running whatever the operating system one is providing, and to be honest, I have not heard too much bad stuff about the Apple one either, so I think either of the native ones are fine as far as the virus things go. When it comes to the malware, that's where you want to really reconsider and think about maybe using one of the tools out there. Like I said, I've been using Malwarebytes for a very long time. They're a good, reputable company. And so let me explain. So one of the reasons they make a free version available, because I know people are like, well, it's free, then it can't be any good, or somebody's going to do something to it. The reason companies like Malwarebytes make a free version available is because their whole focus is to try to stay on top of things. And they know more than any of us how quickly these things change and how quickly variants come out or new versions completely. So the reason that they make the free version available is because by doing so, you're giving the system okay to send back reports on anything that does try to intrude on your system, which gives them more data. The whole way that they can stay on top of things and keep on top of the trends and all that kind of stuff is to see what kind of attacks are happening. So that's why they give us the ones for free, because then we become part of the information base that they've got. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, then you're going to, want to maybe rethink about it. But it's one of those situations where I'm like, okay, they're very upfront about the information that they're collecting, and you can go and see all that kind of stuff. But I've been working with them for a long time. I've used their tools for a long time. I've done paid, I've done free, and they do a good job of staying on top of it because, again, it's whack-a-mole, right? So the more information they have, the faster they can react when something changes, and that's why that stuff is out there. But yes, I do make a point of putting it on anybody's new system. Like I said, I don't bother with the antivirus softwares anymore because the local stuff is good, but I do usually put Malwarebytes on there, and I explain to whoever I'm setting it up for, whether it's family, friends, or a customer, what it is, why it's there, and why they should say yes to the updating, because the updating is what makes the difference, okay? So the updating is the key to protecting your system. If you install Malwarebytes today and you don't ever update it, well, you're only protected for the stuff that they know of today and previous, okay? But anything new that comes out, which could be 10 minutes from now or 10 weeks from now, you're not protected from, right? So that's why you want to keep letting them update and their library on your system, because that's what's keeping you safe. Everything that's coming through is getting checked against that library to say whether or not it's safe. So, yes, you could download it today and never ever update it, but you're only going to be backward safe, not forward safe, and that's not really the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to help keep you protected as you go about your day-to-day. Does that make sense? Hopefully. But yes, this is not about fear. This is about protection and keeping your business running, because I keep reading more and more. And the thing is, as we're reading and hearing about these things out in the wild, you have to understand that for every report that makes it into either the mainstream or the tech media, there are thousands of other attacks that have happened. People aren't reporting them, people are afraid to say anything, or there's just such a deluge that, the news companies are only picking up the ones that sound interesting, okay? And the ones that are more day-to-day, they're not publicizing. But that doesn't mean it's not happening, because the numbers are, frankly, astronomical and getting higher. And all expectations are that as here in the U.S., we go into the next election cycle, it's going to get much, much worse. So this is why we're having this conversation. Hey, Eric over from Mixer, how you doing? Good to see you. Hello, hello. Okay, so let's wrap this up because we're getting a little long here, which tends to happen with us, right? We tend to get chatty. That's good. It's good to have a conversation. So just as a reminder, here are the things that you want to do to make sure that you are staying safe. Never, ever, 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 ever open file attachments unless you are 1,000% sure, yes, I know that's not possible, 100% sure that they are legitimate, okay? And the best way to do that is to confirm them before opening, right? Send a text, make a phone call, send an email, hey, Susie, did you really send me this or is something not right? Make sure. Never pick up a USB drive and just plug it in that you don't know where it's been, where it's from. If you open a file, like for example in Microsoft Office, and it asks to run macros and you did not yourself activate or write that macro, deny permission. Keep your operating systems up to date, please. Keep them up to date, keep them patched. I know about the problems with, you do the update and then your system stops working. So the smart move here is you have to keep your operating systems up to date because this is another company that is trying to help you, whether it's Apple or Microsoft. They're trying to keep our systems protected, okay? So we have to let them do that. Now, I understand all about the issues that come up with the initial release. So what I tell people is wait a week. When they release an update, if you don't want to be the guinea pig, and believe me, I get that and support it 100%, then give them a week, let everything shake down. You'll hear in the press whether or not it's good, or if you don't hear it in the press, if they really have a big problem with it, they will pull it back in that time period. And so then you can wait and do it when they fix it. But don't wait 6 months. Don't wait a year. Okay, there is a practical happy medium here. Okay, you don't have to be the first one to install it, but you don't want to be the last. Be somewhere in the top of the, just after the risk takers have taken the risk for us and identified the issues, and then things have gotten fixed. That's the window where you want to go ahead and do those updates. And be very careful about the websites that you go to, the ads you click on, that type of thing, because all of those could be a source of your problems. Keep your antivirus operating system and all the other software up to date, in particular the malware stuff. I use the term antivirus here, but talking to you guys, I realize I really should be specific because antivirus is not the same thing as malware protection. And really the word should be malware protection. Don't install software or give it admin privileges unless you know exactly what it does, why it's asking for that, and where it's coming from. And please, please, please keep your backups. Maintain your backups. Do them religiously every day, every week, every month. Make sure that they are physically separate and off of your network. That includes wireless. Okay, it has to be completely disconnected from your network 100%. And that way you'll have it available for when you are, in case you ever need it. Because the whole point here is just to make sure that you're safe and that your data is safe. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. Are we all good now? We're all in line. Backup is key. Absolutely. I say the word backup so much that people kind of start throwing things at me, but I don't care. I will go to my grave saying, did you back up today? Did you back up? Where's your backup? Did you back it up? Because it is that important. And I've had this conversation. So, a lot of, a couple of my nephews are still in college. A couple of the neighborhood people that I know are going back. And so we've had this conversation too, because while, yes, I will help you if your hard drive, dies or you get attacked or whatever, 3 days before the end of the semester and you have to hand everything in. If you've done the backups, like I've told you, you won't need me. And we've had those conversations over and over again. And they've heard it enough that at least they're aware and they are making the effort. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, if you want more information, you can go to yourtechcoach.net and reach out. I've got a contact form there. For the folks who love Twitter, I'm on Twitter at @your_techcoach. So don't be shy. Go ahead and reach out. And for the other conversations, which have been not so much about being secure, but just about getting your content out there, if you are still looking for content ideas, the free booklet is out there. If you sign up for my mailing list, you'll get 130 ideas for content for your blog, your video, your live streams, all the rest of that. So that is still there for you too. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody over on Mixer. Having a good time. Yes, on my tombstone, I was backed up. Yes. When I die, everything that anybody needs is backed up in multiple places and available. Hopefully not for a very long time, but yes, and actually people know where to find them too. And actually do offsites with my friends. So that's an idea. So you can do this with a friend. You take a drive, right? Do your backup, maybe like the once a month one. And then what we do is we swap drives. So we have 4 drives going in all the time because, God forbid, fire, hurricane, whatever in the house, we still have another offsite disconnected copy, because that's how we roll around here. We are all kinds of secure with our data here. So that's how we do things. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I will be back here next week as usual with a new topic. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out if you have questions. My only request is if you have a question and you need an immediate answer, let me know that when you send the question. Otherwise, I'll save it for the next show. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.